Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hey, Renee, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good, good. We'll give everyone another second. Now, I was thinking about with this Flex account that we have, we're supposed to pick up the phone and meet the people right away, like today, maybe tomorrow. And then we've got a very limited window to build rapport and trust with them. And hopefully if they don't buy this house, they'll buy another house. So I'm going to go back to a class. If you've been here for more than a year, we did this about a year ago, just a little under a year ago. I'm going to go over it again today because I think this is a great class to teach you guys when you meet that client for the first time, how to win them over. Like say, wow, this Renee is really sharp. We should probably work with her. So the class I call is how to become a market expert. And basically, even amiables, when it comes to buying real estate, become a little analytic, right? The numbers, it's a big purchase on there. So I'm going to teach you a whole bunch of numbers, Renee, that we're going to learn about your market. So when you meet a client, you'll start dropping these numbers on them, and they're like, wow, I didn't know that, or the other agents didn't share that. And you'll soon get responses from these buyers that you're working with, like, wow, Renee, you're so smart. We're so glad we found you. This will really happen, believe it or not. So the first number, Renee, is TAM. You know what TAM stands for? T-A-M?
No.
TAM stands for Total Addressable Market. So if you're working like in a certain town, county, it could be an HOA, if you have like a condominium complex of some sort, they all have a TAM. As realtors, we should know how many houses we're selling in a given town, neighborhood. It immediately changes the perception that if you say, hey, Renee, I'm so excited to show you this, I don't know, ABC condo complex tomorrow. Did you know there's 323 units in there? And that 125 are one bedrooms, another 115 are three bedrooms, and the balance are studios. Right? You wouldn't challenge me in my knowledge at that point. So first one for everybody is TAM. A lot of this information, by the way, Renee, you can get by going to census.gov and just putting in like the town or the county name. And they'll give you a whole bunch of data on that given area for free, which is pretty cool. So first number is TAM. Second is going to be percentage of homes that are sold annually. What are the percentage of homes? Do you know that number, Renee, for the markets that you cover?
No.
So let me explain to you then. Figure it out because it's good information to share with a buyer. So I live in Cal Heights. I don't know if you're familiar, over in Long Beach. So the annual turnover here is 1%. What do you think that means to a buyer? Like I bought this house a little over a year ago. What do you think that meant? When the agent said, yeah, about 1% of the homes here turn over every year.
People like the area. They stay.
Yeah, and they stay. And there's not a lot of options. You don't see a lot of inventory here ever because it's an older neighborhood. Like people, my neighbors, no joke, to my left are 80 something years old. To my right, they're in their 90s. Like they just stay here forever. Like everyone on the block knows everybody. They went to school, elementary school, and then middle school, then high school. And now it's all the empty nester parents who all have block parties. Seems like once a month. So anyway, my neighborhood, what if I told you the turnover in a neighborhood was like 10% or 15%? What would that mean to a buyer?
That doesn't seem so bad.
No, that's good. There's opportunity, right? It's more of a transient type area. People live here for a while and they put the house back on the market. So your buyer would have a lot more opportunity in that market than they would in my neighborhood on here. This is always super competitive. Like this house had 100 people that came to the open house the first day it was on the market. That's crazy, 100 people. So anyway, that will help you to educate the consumer based on how many opportunities every year are in that TAM, whether it's very competitive, very easy, or is it a marketplace that's transient and there's a lot of turnover? So you'll be able to help the client even more easily. All right, next number, Renee. Percent to difference of sale price to list price, or list price to sale price.
Okay.
What does that number mean? And that number we use a lot of different ways, I would tell you, when I educate a consumer. So what's the percent to difference of list price to sale price? So say it's...
I thought you were asking me, sorry.
Yeah, good, no, good, tell me.
It tells you if the agent is listing your house at a good price.
Should sell, right? So that tells you if the price was, the home was listed correctly. It also tells me if I'm working with a buyer, Renee, what priced homes they should be looking at. So let's just take hypothetically homes sell within 0 to 95% of list price in your market. Okay. And say the average sale price, I'll just throw out a number, is 300,000. Okay. So if I was your buyer and you just know those two statistics, homes sell within 5% of list price, average sale price is 300. My budget is 300. What priced homes should you advise me to be looking at?
Up to 325, 275, is that right?
Close, you're close, very close. 315.
315, okay.
Right? So it's just 5% more than the 300 on there. Because those you can potentially negotiate, right, down to that 300, which I could afford. But if I start looking at 320, 325, 350 homes, I'm not going to get them 10%, 20% cheaper because homes are all selling 0 to 5%. So that number will help you to teach the consumer on what homes they should be looking at, right, up to a certain price point.
Okay.
And also, what about Renee, when you get that bottom feeder kind of buyer who wants a lowball the seller? But educate me now. So pretend I'm the buyer and hey, I see this house for, 300,000, Renee, it looks pretty good. But you know what? They've been on the market for a few days here. I think we should probably offer them something like, I don't know, 250.
Oh.
What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, you advise them that they're probably not gonna accept that.
Well, role play with me so everyone else can hear, and I'll role play back with you a little bit because this is an important discussion, which is very real. I've agents this week, Renee, who called me asking me the same exact question, like, how do I get this guy to write? He doesn't realize the market's so hot, and he wants to put in a low offer. He's going to lose. What do I do?
Yeah.
So it's a real situation. So go ahead.
Well, if we want to be a serious buyer, I would recommend offering a little more to show them that we're serious and we really want the house.
Okay, good. That might be good with a driver personality, right? That was very direct, right? Seriously. But with an amiable, I'll change it up. I'll be the amiable. All right. So with an amiable, you want to convert that to questions.
Okay.
Right? I'm not going to tell you, hey, Renee, were you aware of what the average home in our marketplace is selling for in the last, I don't know, 30, 60, 90 days? You'll probably tell me no. Well, believe it or not, almost every house that has sold in the last 90 days, Renee, has sold between 0 and 5% of list price, right? So somewhere either at 300 or no lower than 285.
Okay.
And the reason I share that with you is the listing agent has shared that same information with the seller already. So they're expecting and will most likely get offers between 300 and 285. If we come in at I'll say 275, I'll make it a little more realistic, right? At 275, every other buyer who bids on this house will most likely be bidding more than you will be. And the seller will then not think you're serious about their home, reject the offer, and we're gonna have to start all over again. We don't want that to happen, do we?
No.
So Renee, knowing what you know now about what homes are selling for, and ultimately how much you like this house, what do you think would be a fair offer?
285.
There you go. So, right. So what I did though, the only difference was, Renee, instead of telling you, I just asked you a couple questions. And then you told me. So know your client.
Okay.
That was perfect. You nailed it. That was it. So now I'm in that zone, right? I'm in striking distance of the price. So present the difference of sale price to list price. If anyone here is taking listings, that is the number I use to get myself a price reduction. And it sounds like this, Renee. So Renee takes a listing at, maybe a 300 and then the activity is slow. And seller says, hey, where are the offers, Renee? How come we don't have anything solid on the table yet? So Renee is going to say, well, based on our invitation, I know we're at least 5% overpriced because homes that are priced within 0 to 5%, Renee, in our market always sell. And we don't have an offer. And the house is still on the market. That means the buyers, the brokers, and the agents are all telling us we're at least 5% overpriced. So we need to reposition the home by at least 5% so the buyers will think we're priced correctly and write us an offer. So simply just rejecting our current position. Because if we were positioned correctly, what would happen, Renee?
It would sell.
Yeah, because all homes sell between 0 and 5%, and we're not. So there you go. So that number, you can see, I think we used it 3 or 4 times there. Very important. is know your client, buyer, seller, and what they should be looking at, what they should be offering, or what they should be listing at or price reducing to. That number will help you with all of those. Really, really important. All right, next, number of homes on the market today. Like Renee, we're in real estate together, right? If, again, use like Cal Heights is a good example because it's not that big of an area. If you work Cal Heights, you should know how many homes are on the market, how many 4 bedrooms are here today, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, right? On there, know your market. If you're in real estate, it's almost an equivalent would be if you worked at a car dealership. You should know what cars you have on the lot to sell. If I come in and say, hey, Renee, I'm looking for the new whatever, Mercedes ABC car, right? Whatever they are, right? Oh yeah, I have 2 of those. I've got a black one and a white one. Let me show you. Right? If I call you and say, I'm looking for a 3-2 in Cal Heights, you say, oh yeah, there's 2 great properties on the market. I can't wait to show them to you. Same thing. So you have to know. Do you have the hot sheets there, Renee, off the MLS?
Yes.
Because I don't know if, what you guys use as a practice there, but I would memorize that thing like every day. Every day, just check it out, read it, price changes, expireds, whatever. It's a perfect cheat sheet for us. Next is absorption rate. This is my favorite, actually. I put a star next to this one, Renee. Absorption rate is my favorite because consumers don't know much about it. They don't hear about it. So when I talk about it, they're like, wow, what does this mean? So what do you know about absorption rate?
Nothing.
Okay, good. So I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know. So first, I'll give you the formula. Absorption rate tells us how many months it would take to sell off the current inventory if no new homes came on the market. Right? So if we had a 2-month supply of homes, that means in the next 60 days, Renee, on what's that, November 8th, we would have no inventory if nothing new came on the market and it was selling at the current pace. So draw a circle, like a clock, and we're going to make 4 quadrants. So from let's just say from 1, 2, and 3 will be our first quadrant. We're going to call that the hot sellers market.
Okay.
And here are some signs of a hot sellers market. Prices are rising quickly. There's bidding wars everywhere. There's low inventory. Then we go into 4 to 5 month supply of homes. Next little group. So this is still a seller's market, Renee, but not as aggressive. Not as many bidding wars, a little more inventory out there. Prices aren't all going over ask anymore. You're not getting 20 offers on a property. That kind of stuff. Still seller's market, which means there's more buyers in the market than sellers. And then write down between 5 and 7 months. Between 5 and 7. That has a bunch of names. Write these names down. Could be an equal market, a flat market, a balanced market, a normal market, balanced. Those are just names that they use. They all mean the same exact thing. This is just for your knowledge in case you hear them. And what it means is there is an exact or very close equal supply of buyers and sellers.
Okay.
What do you think happens to pricing when there's an equal supply of buyers and sellers?
It stays average.
Yeah, it doesn't go up or down. So in these markets, the house goes off the market, one comes on, one goes off, one comes on. And prices are not moving up or down. There's not crazy bidding wars. There might be 1 or 2 here or there. You might see 1 or 2 foreclosures, but not a ton, right? Just a normal market, a little bit of everything, no dramatic changes. Now, as soon as you go north of 7, what do you think happens? More than 7 months supply of homes.
Oh, price more than 7 months? Oh, then prices drop.
Yep, that's a buyer's market. So now we have a lot more houses for sale than we do, right? And then you see the inventory grows, bidding wars stop. You might start to see some short sales coming in and prices start to come down because buyers have more choices because they have so many houses. What do you think happens north of 9? More than 9 month supply.
Recession. Recession.
Well, definitely could be that, right? So it could be a recession. This is where you'll see a lot of foreclosures, a lot of short sales, right? People walking away from homes you might see in that market as well. Write this down. I'll give you the formula on how to figure it out. Very simply, is you pick a certain neighborhood or a certain price point, a school district or property type, like pick your segment, and how many of those are available today. Right, so again, I'll use Cal Heights because we talked about it a couple of times. So say in Cal Heights, there were 20 houses available today. And then when you looked, part two is to figure out how many have gone pending in the last 30 days. So say in the last 30 days, 10 homes went pending in Cal Heights.
Mhm.
What is our absorption rate in Cal Heights? 20 available today, 10 went pending in the last 30 days. We divide those two. So we
10.
have 2.
Oh, gee, okay.
Yep, yeah, 10 into 20 is a 2-month supply. So
Okay.
that's a seller's market, very hot market, right? That's probably a fairly accurate number, I would tell you. It might even be 1-month supply here.
Okay.
So very, very aggressive. So what you're going to do is you're going to ask your client, Renee, when you meet them now, hey, have you heard about absorption rate?
Mhm.
Because absorption rate is something called a leading indicator. It tells you and it tells the consumer what's going to be happening in real estate in the near future. Do you know what kind of news that the consumers always get?
What?
Lagging indicator. So what do? They watch the news, they go online. What do those outlets always report on? What kind of data are they using? They're not using the leading indicator like inventory or how many things went under contract today. What do they use?
I don't know. What do they use?
Sold data.
Sold?
Like, yep, they all use sold data, which doesn't help the consumer of today because those are deals that are closing now, Renee, but those buyers made a decision to spend that kind of money or not, right? 30, 45, or 60 days ago. So the news is always 1 to 3 months behind of telling the real picture. Because what happens, say Cal Heights was 2. What if you looked at it next month and it was 3.5? What would that tell you?
That there's less inventory.
Nope, opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so we're going down the clock, right? So the inventory is going to be growing. Is Cal Heights getting hotter or cooler?
Cooler.
Right, things are slowing down a little bit. You're going to know about that, and you can educate your client on that. The news is not going to report on that for 2 to 3 months until the houses start adding up, until the sales slow down, until the bidding wars stop. So you have a huge advantage here with your client to give them upfront news about what's about to happen or how the market's going to, prices are going to continue to increase or maybe start decreasing because it was at 1 or 2 months and now it's at 3.5 and 4. And it will happen. Real estate, you're familiar with the term cyclical? That real estate's a cycle. Right? It always goes up and down. So it's very hot right now. At some point, that number will start to get bigger, the month supply of homes. Any questions on that one?
No.
No, a little more complicated. If you want to, I have a graph I could send you if you want to email me. Make it visual. It might be a little easier to understand.
Okay.
Next is a percentage of rentals.
Okay.
Like the markets that you work in, Renee, are they mostly like my neighborhood, all owner occupied with a couple of rentals, or is it mostly rentals? Like I coach a gal.
Owner occupied.
Oh, perfect. So that's conducive, right? To people that want to start families, get to know your neighbors, right? That kind of stuff. Because I've lived in both types of neighborhoods. I don't know if you've lived in like high rental areas. It's different. It's very transient. People don't really know each other. They don't really communicate nearly as much. I was fascinated that so many people lived close together in my last place, but no one ever talked. Kind of like maybe a quick hi if you're lucky, but very different. Like here, they invite us to these parties I told you all the time. They come over, they're helpful. It's a very different neighborhood when it's mostly owner occupied versus a rental neighborhood.
True.
And also too, your buyer might want to convert the home into a rental somewhere in the future. Is that neighborhood conducive to doing that? I learned I have a client in Las Vegas. I didn't know this till recently, but in Las Vegas, almost every neighborhood is an HOA. And all the HOAs have banned short-term rentals. So you can't have an Airbnb in Vegas. Almost impossible. Interesting, right? So, but learning those rules, right, about your neighborhood would be huge. Next one. How about the average sale price? Do you know the average sale price of that neighborhood or neighborhoods that you work?
Yeah.
Why is that important to the buyer?
Shows them if they can afford the area.
Right. Or also too, that they don't spend too much, right? Because in a hot market like this, say that neighborhood, give me an idea of the price point, the average sale price of one of those neighborhoods.
400.
400. So in 400, right? And I'm looking at some properties and I see a $500,000 property in the $400,000 neighborhood. Could definitely happen, right? 550 maybe.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of upside to that property? If I buy that house, will it likely appreciate a lot more at 550?
Oh, probably not.
No, because it's already at the high end of the market. Or would I maybe have a hard time selling that? It's really nice, but everyone else who shops in the neighborhood spends 400, 425, and I'm going to spend 550 now. That could be a big problem.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think it's very important to educate. That was the same thing here when I bought this house again. It's a good example, I guess, because this was at the very height of the market. And I told the realtor, if I can't get it for this price, I'll just move into another neighborhood where this price point is more the norm, not the exception. Because I didn't want to buy the most buyers don't want to buy the most expensive house in the neighborhood. It's just not a good investment, right? So again, very important to know average sale price. What can they afford? What does this neighborhood sell for? How about average price per square foot, Renee?
Mhm.
You familiar with that number? There's 4 different ones actually that you could know. One is just like the retail,
Mhm.
right? A 1,500 square foot house times whatever, right? Price per square foot, that would give you percentage. Number 2 would be new construction. New construction is always a premium to the retail homes, right? They get to charge a little more because everything's nice and new, like a new car on there. Next would be the luxury. Do you have a luxury market there or no?
I think there is, yes.
If there is, you'll see 2 different price points on average price per square foot. Here's why, is the finishes. The fit and finishes are called, are much higher. They use much more expensive plumbing fixtures. They use much more expensive lighting and stuff like that. So their price per square foot is higher. And then the last one is my favorite, is the appraisal adjustment. Is talk to your local appraiser and find out when they compare 2 homes, what adjustment are they making? What I mean by that, say these 2 homes are both 3.2 in the same neighborhood. This was 2,000 square feet. This was 3,000 square feet. What's the difference in price? My last market, I would tell you, it's $50. So it would be 50 times the 1,000. This house is worth $50,000 more. Real simple. Very, very easy to help a seller or a buyer figure out what to offer or how another house compares to another one. Because that one number right there, Renee, will have the biggest impact on the appraisal when it comes in. The appraisal adjustment number. Number of short sales and foreclosures in the area. Number of, you familiar with HUDhomestore.com?
No.
You should probably check it out. It'll just let you know. That's one of the first sites where you'll start seeing foreclosures pop up.
Okay.
So if you start seeing them on there, you're like, uh-oh, it's starting to happen. Sooner or later, it will.
Okay.
There's a lot of moratoriums. You familiar with that right now on evictions?
No.
So yeah, I don't think you'll see any real soon, but it's interesting. A lot of states, a lot of areas are letting tenants, because of COVID, stay in these houses without paying rent.
Really?
But what's interesting, it doesn't help the owner of the property because he still has to pay the mortgage. So it'd be interesting. I think some of those houses could go into foreclosure, right? For obvious reasons. If he can't pay the mortgage and he can't force them to leave, that could be a problem. So we'll see. But anyway, so number of short sales and foreclosures in the area. And again, Renee, when you start seeing that number slowly get a little bigger, guess what? The market's starting to soften. So keep an eye on that.
Okay.
How about average days on market?
Yes, look at that.
Do you know what your market is? Like those $400,000 homes? How long does it take to sell a home?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Okay, find out. Because this is how sometimes I'll educate a buyer. Like if I get a buyer who really likes to negotiate, if I get a buyer who really likes to haggle, I try to find them houses that were sitting on the market a little longer, where I think the seller might be agreeable to a little negotiation. Like if houses are on the market like a day or two, and you're a buyer, you've got like one of these bottom feeder buyers who's going to lowball everything. Not going to work in most cases, right? If the inventory is that hot. So I'll use days on market to my advantage if needed to help a buyer win a bidding situation if I know that they're conservative. Or I also use it to my other buyers that want to like test the market. Oh yeah, we'll come up, but we want to start here. Like, no. Average days on the market is like 2 days. In 2 days, this house won't even be an option for you anymore. We need to come in strong and hard with the best and offer with the best terms. Next, for sale by owners. When the market gets this hot, Renee, I don't know if you've noticed, but for sale by owners start to pop up. Because they see that Renee listed her home and sold it like in a day for all this money. They're like, oh, we could do that. And they try and sell on their own. So you don't necessarily need to go after those, but you need to know about them. You know why? The buyers do. And if you don't know about them and the buyers do, they'll just go and approach the homeowners themselves on there. So always check all your FSBO sites, like, forsalebyowner.com, anything that might be on Zillow, FSBR. There's a whole bunch of sites out there. Just to know what the buyers are seeing. Because in the low inventory, Renee, market, they check everywhere. They're trying to find a house any way they can. In my neighborhood, they post on the local community page all the time. Hey, I'm looking to buy in this neighborhood. If anybody wants to sell their house, let me know. I'll buy it direct from you, no realtor. So very, very common. Not many of these right now, but expired listings, right? If a Zillow lead calls you, Renee, and says, hey, Renee, I was looking at this house over here on Banana Street, and I don't see it on Zillow. What happened to it? There's only two options. What are the two options? What happened to it?
It sold, or they took it off the market.
That's it. And you need to know that. Like, oh, yeah. That house, it was overpriced and it was sitting on the market. It came off the market last night at midnight. Right. So again, that's from the hot sheet. You learn that stuff. Same thing with price reductions, right? You don't want to be quoting a wrong price to a buyer. If they say, hey, that house, you're like, oh yeah, did you know they reduced it by $10,000 yesterday? Like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. You would be the market expert. Coming soons. So that's the biggest hook I would tell you with buyers. If you have some information or knowledge of properties that maybe Steven's bringing to the market early, right? Or soon on there, that would be a huge way to build up some rapport and trust. Also know the segments of the market that are hottest or coolest. Because if you get that VA buyer, Renee, right, that has no cash, right, really just really tight, you want to bring him into a market or help maybe advise him into one that's not as competitive. Because you're bringing that VA buyer with, no cash out of pocket and they're competing against cash offers. It's a tough battle to win. Very tough. I also share this number with them because it's just a stat that I think is interesting and they don't know it. I let them know how many people visit that website they're visiting. Do you have any idea how many people visit a site like Zillow.com?
No.
As of late last year, it was 196 million unique visitors.
Oh, wow.
It's huge. Most real estate companies, I'll tell you, like their websites, like you take a Douglas Elliman, which is a pretty big company, they get a few 100,000.
Wow.
This company is getting nearly 200 million. Actually, this is late last year, so they're probably over 200 million visitors per month. It's huge. So I'll make a joke about it. So Renee, when you go to that site, it's not just you there. There's over 200 million other people doing exactly what you're doing on there. So questions on this. So you don't need to know every single one of these, Renee, but pick 2, 3, 5 of them that you like. It doesn't really matter which ones, I'll be honest with you. Is pick the ones that resonate best with you. And when you meet a client next time, within the first 5 or 10 minutes, just share those 3 numbers with them in casual conversation, right? Don't sound like Rain Man and just spit out numbers, or right? But just say, hey, did you know? Wow, did you know there's 323 homes in this development, right? Or, hey, and they sell only about 2% a year, right? So that means there's only about 7 or 8 opportunities to buy a home in this particular neighborhood. You start talking like that, you're going to get someone's attention, because that information is not available on Zillow or on Google, right? That's where they're getting all their information from. So everything I shared with you today, they're not going to be able to easily find in any other portal. So when they come to you and you start sharing this, you're helping and add value by increasing their knowledge. And they will stick to you like glue. So use it well. This is for everyone, obviously. I'm role playing with Renee because she's the only brave one to put her camera on today. Good job, Renee. But learn a few of these. And then as soon as you meet the client, I would say within the first 5 to 10 minutes, you use no less than 3 of them, Renee. And you will see a difference. They will pay attention to you, whatever you say after that, because they realize you're smarter than they are about real estate. And that will hopefully build up the rapport and trust you need, that if they don't buy this house, they'll follow up with you and buy another one later on this week.
Okay.
Very effective. All right, I'll let you go with that. If you have any questions, obviously reach out, but this will help you to increase those conversion scores with all these little leads we're getting. So have at it. Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.